Hi, everyone. Good morning. How are you guys today? Hope everybody is having a great, beautiful morning so far. Just want to come live and talk to you guys about what happened last night at the DNC. The protesters have been out there. They're still out there again today. We're talking thousands and thousands of people. They have breached the wall that was put up to keep them out. But also, I want to take a look at Biden's speech yesterday and kind of fact check, discuss, and look at some of the things that he said and how truthful or untruthful those statements are. And so I hope that everybody is looking forward to this, and we'll get this going. So before we jump too far into this, though, I do want to mention to you guys that Libby is still doing a sale with her Shopify account, and let me pull this up for you guys so you can check this out if you're interested. Libby is one of our Sleuth Mom family members. She's been with us for quite a while, and she is where you will find the Sleuth Mom merch, as well as other items that she creates and sells in her shop here. And so just a lot of different mugs, t-shirts, car coasters, there's earrings. And then again, at the end, you're going to see the Sleuth Mom merch. And so if you guys are interested in checking that out, her link will be dropping throughout this video. And you can go out and just support a Sleuth family mom or family member and show her some love. Show her some love. Hi, BC. How are you today? So let me get you guys her link. Again, none of those proceeds come to me. This is all something just to support somebody in our community. So, oh, goodness. Let me get... Grace should be joining us at some point today as well while we take a look at this. So I'm going to pull up some of the information about the protesters. I don't know if you guys have been following this very much. It's something that obviously with the state of our world, honestly, the politics is such a big part of all of our lives. I know typically we don't discuss politics on this channel, but it is something that is extremely important to this country and honestly every country for that matter. So following up with this all the way through November is probably something that we're going to continue to do because it is something that I'm actively following in my day-to-day life. And so just to share this information with you right now, what is going on, it almost seems like the Democrats are in their own little civil war right now amongst themselves. I mean, they are down there, hundreds of thousands of them protesting right now, the DNC, and we're seeing all types of different groups gathering. It's hard to even say exactly what each group is protesting for. It's like they've all taken advantage of the fact that this protest is going on, and they've all shown up. I mean, we're seeing people protest for abortion rights. We're seeing people protest for the uh, activity that's going on in Palestine. We're seeing people protesting for Ukraine. We're seeing all types of things happening down there. Hi, Ocean Tide. Hi, Kim. Hi, Libby. Good to see you guys. And so this is just an article that came out 11 hours ago. It says Biden says Gaza protesters have point after thousands gather at DNC. One of the things that we're noticing with Kamala right now, she has refused to do any types of interviews. She's not really speaking to the media whenever they are trying to get these interviews and address her and things like that. But different little statements that she has made. And it seems like depending on who she is talking to or what is going on in the media, that is how her response is reflected. Protest over inflation. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Hi, Mama Bear. How are you? Good to see you. Good morning, Roberta. Happy birthday, by the way, belated. And so depending on who she is talking to and what is going on, that seems to be what her response is and what they're catching her in. You guys are mentioning inflation. Inflation is a very important part for our country right now because the prices of everything is just so high. Houses that would have sold in my area for typically under 100,000 are priced at over $200,000. People with their groceries, I mean, the grocery bills. I was looking at this the other day, like my bank account does like a breakdown of how much you spend on each division, and our grocery bill has gone up over $600 in the last couple months, and we're not buying anything different than what we were just 6 months ago. And so it's crazy to me. Yeah, she is. She's avoiding everything. But these new comments that she has made and the new things that she is pointing to, it almost sounds like she is hoping to turn us into a communist nation. And that has not gone well for any other communist nation in the world. And so I'm not sure why anybody would want us to have a communist type of economy. I understand that people want to make sure that people are provided for and things like that, but by controlling what we purchase, what we have access to, things like that, that's just not the right answer. Um, in my opinion anyways. So anyway, so these protests are going on though, and we're watching people protest, and one of the things that I have seen is the LBGTQ community is out there protesting for Palestine. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this, like that would be like trees protesting for chainsaws. They are not an accepting community in Palestine. I mean, if you guys recall, during the COVID relief funds, one of the things that went out was money towards Palestine for gender studies was one of the big things that we had talked about. But to me, it just seems interesting that that particular community is out there protesting the war in Gaza right now, simply because that is not a community that would stand with them. If this same community was to be dropped in Palestine right now, the things that would happen to them are absolutely atrocious. Yeah, they're raising energy cost, food, all. Yeah, everything is up in price. Everything. It is. The small town you live in is such high prices. It's hard to afford anything. It's crazy to me. So, but we are going to watch Joe Biden's speech. I am very interested in some of the things that he said, but I also want to show you guys where the truth and the lies are in that speech. I honestly was expecting him to step down as president last night, or announce that he would be stepping down, something along those lines. But that did not happen. He didn't step down last night. He did not resign his presidency, and he is still saying that he has 5 months left and that he's going to continue. But during his speech last night, he was stumbling over many different words, and just really, it seemed like he was up past his bedtime. I don't know if they have hidden him throughout this so that he could practice that speech for the last month or so. But it was rough to say the least. So we are going to watch it though. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it, and opinions about the things that he said. And honestly, any opinion is welcome here. If you are pro Kamala or pro Biden, please, don't feel uncomfortable to comment. I don't think that politics needs to be something that splits us up. I do think that every single one of us has the rights to our opinions, and that we can have an open, honest discussion and conversation about things, because I do understand some people's viewpoints. But some of these things that they are saying, it's just blatantly false. For example, this push on Kamala being a hardened prosecutor and standing for our country, and that we need a prosecutor in there to do her job. If you look at her record, one of the things that Kamala did was she actually helped stop a bill that would protect children from sexual predators. And so that's something to keep in mind. And we'll look a little bit more into that as we get there. Hi, Ramblin' Rome. Yeah. Well, we'll turn it up. We'll turn up the speed a little bit so that we don't all fall asleep or anything. But can't turn it up too fast because he trips over a good bit of his words throughout it. All right, let's pull this up and we will take a listen. And he's so emotional at the beginning whenever he comes in. Can't play the music. But whenever he comes in, he literally has tears in his eyes, and And he does, he wipes away some tears because he's emotional. To me, I can't stand the fact that I honestly think that they forced him to drop out of this running, and that it was not his choice. I think it was one of those situations where they notified him like, "Hey Joe, you're not running anymore," and then they forced him out of the race. And I don't think that's right. You know, if he wanted to step down, if he was no longer capable, absolutely. But some of the things that he says is about how, she was voted to be the next president and things like that. Nobody voted for Kamala. Actually, just weeks before they put Kamala in, they were talking about Joe needing to replace her on his ballot as the vice president because she was doing such a horrible job. And so, to me, for them to say how horrible she was doing, and the fact, like, CNN was reporting how horrible Kamala was doing, and that Joe Biden's best chance would be to replace her on the ballot. And the Democrats did the exact opposite. They replaced Joe, who is reporting, if he would have still been in, would have been 10 points ahead of Trump. Now, I don't believe necessarily that those points would be correct. However, they were just saying how horrible she is and that he needed to replace her so that he would stand a chance of becoming the president or staying president. And then just a few short weeks later, they're saying how amazing she is and how she's going to be the best thing ever. So, you're glad Joe Biden's gone. He should no longer be president. I really don't like Kamala Harris either. Harris never did anything good for California. She never protected anyone from anything. No, I agree with that. And that's what we're going to look at, is some of her record as far as the actual things that she has put into place as the attorney general whenever she was there. So,
thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What? To my dearest daughter Ashley, God love you, you're incredible. Thank you for that introduction and for being my courageous heart, along with Hunter and our entire family, and especially our rock, Jill. For as those of you who know us, she still leaves me both breathless and speechless. Everybody knows her. I love her more than she loves me.
is that what's happening to his speech? It's his wife's fault. She keeps taking the words right from him. She keeps leaving him speechless. I did see that her vice presidency is officially under investigation. Um, I I'm going to say this though. I don't personally agree with this nonstop back and forth between, we're going to investigate you and we're going to file articles of impeachment, and the back and forth that constantly happens between the two parties. That is one thing that I just think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And at the end of the day, even if they impeach her in one house, they won't impeach her in the other. And then we're in this situation where nothing happens and it's a waste for the next 5 months, in order to slander and bash her as much as they possibly can. I don't think we need to do that in order for her to be bashed, if that makes sense. I feel like her record speaks for itself. And that's something that we're really going to start diving into, because I think that people need to be fully aware. We know everything that the media has tried to tell us about Trump. We know everything that the media has told us in the past about Biden, but a lot of people don't even know who Harris is. And so it's hard to make an informed decision if you don't know what that person actually stands for. And I'm not talking about what she's saying during interviews this week or last week or within the past couple of months. I'm talking about historically where she has stood uh, um consistently throughout her career versus what she is saying now. Historically, she has been very bad. And so we're going to look at that. Yeah, Kim, this is so I think we were talking about this the other day, all the different Joe Bidens that there are. I swear he has so many different looks and so many different versions of him. And I feel like they're finally at this point where Joe Biden, the Joe Biden that they have presenting us with is starting to glitch. There's a point in this speech that I was sitting there thinking like, oh man, I got to tap the side of the TV and and get him going again, because he just gets stuck on some of his words, and so this one's starting to glitch and shut down, and so they have to get rid of him. They have to get rid of him. You can't replace him with another Joe Biden again. So yeah, you make stupid jokes when it comes to such seriousness. You don't know any other way. I agree. I do. I joke all the time about stuff, but it's just a lot. Closed captioned is on, you guys, if you end up needing it, uh, just so that you know. And I will be about 60 seconds behind you in the comments. And so if you comment something and it seems like I'm taking forever to respond, it's because closed captions does put a delay on the stream itself. So, but they are available on this channel, just so you know.
He walks down the stairs and I still get that going boom, boom, boom. You all will know me. No, I'm not kidding.
How are you?
Let's give a special round of applause to our First Lady, Jill Biden. My dad. My dad used to have an expression, for real. He'd say, Joey, family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I love you all. Folks. And America, I love you. Folks, let me ask you. Let me ask you, are you ready to vote for freedom? Are you ready to vote for democracy and for America? Let me ask you, are you ready to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, President, Vice President of the United States? My fellow Democrats, my fellow Americans, nearly 4 years ago, in winter, on the steps of the Capitol, on a cold January day, I raised my right hand and I swore an oath to you and to God to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States. In front of me was the city surrounded by the National Guard. Behind me, a Capitol just 2 weeks before had been overrun by a violent mob. But I knew then, from the bottom of my heart, that I knew now, there is no place in America for political violence. No.
This right here kills me, because he's like, there's no place in America for political violence. But he just said days before somebody tried to assassinate Trump, that somebody needed to put him in the bullseye. And so it's like, it's one of those situations where I agree, there's no place for political violence. You know, these people that we are fighting with, these people that we're disagreeing with, are our friends, our family, our coworkers. They're literally our neighbors next door. And so it's just concerning to me that people go to that extent and we get so passionate. But whenever it comes down to it, our feelings are motivated by, we think that our country is going to fail because of one side or the other, whether you're Democrat or Republican. How are you in the bushes? Are you here this time?
I'm here. I had
Okay,
headset issues.
gotcha. How do I sound on my new mic, by the way? I set it up. I'm using it. How's
You
it?
sound fine.
Okay. Okay, good. So we're gonna watch this. Did you watch the speech yet?
No.
Okay. I was watching it last night. I watched it in Pascal's actually, and was just kind of listening to everything as it was going. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on a lot of these things.
Oh
You're voting.
goodness.
Seal says she's voting for Ross Perot. You know what? Here's the saddest part of things. I think the independent candidate right now is RLK Jr. And I really think that he would be your typical Democratic candidate. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Uh, I really don't know. I really haven't followed his career.
Okay. So to me, he seems like he would be more of a Democratic candidate. And then the the let me pull up his stuff here. And then where are we at here? Where's that? And then we are now looking at this situation where, like, the far left has now taken over the Democratic Party. And so they're pushing us into a situation where even people who are leaning towards Democrat can't go with the Democratic Party right now. Because they are literally looking at a situation where they have chosen somebody who is, well, they didn't choose. Let me be clear. The Democratic voters did not choose Kamala Harris, but they have been assigned Kamala Harris um, and then the other guy. I can't even think of his name right off the top of my head, but they've been like assigned this candidate that's so far left, and it's just, it's too far. So this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So he was originally running as a Democrat. They didn't take him in. He has campaigned to get put on the ballot in all 50 states as the independent person now, and so they are actively trying to fight against him being put on the ballot as a independent. Even the Democrat Party is fighting against that because they don't want him in office. My thought process is, this is their Trump. They don't want
Yeah.
him, just like the Republican Party doesn't want Trump. You know, the Democratic Party didn't want this guy, and so now he's running as an independent, despite them trying to keep him out of this run. And so it's kind of funny to me that they have moved so far away from this, though, so far away from their typical Democratic policies, to now they're so far into the communist side of things, that they're just like they're choosing who the nomination is going to be instead of letting their voters vote. And they're trying to just force this. I don't know, I don't even know what I'm saying. So, have I seen his brother? No. You spent your time with Fox News during the, oh, see, here's the thing. I don't think that any of the news stations are completely unbiased or look at things in a truthful way, right? We are in a situation where they just don't. I mean, honestly, they're biased on both sides. We've got Fox that is biased towards Republican or towards Democrats. They're pro Republican, and then you got all the other channels that are, whatever, that are for the liberals. And so it's just hard. You're going to rate your own person on the ballot. See, I wish that the independents actually had more pull, but people get so stuck in the two-party system that you really have no choice. So basically, voting for an independent is like throwing your vote away because not enough people do it.
It's really not. If voting for somebody that you don't want to be in office because you feel like there's nobody else, that you won't look at somebody else,
Right.
that's throwing a vote away.
That's true.
At least vote and send them a message.
That's true. That's true. I wish that during primaries that the incumbent, I can't even say the word, that the person who's already in office, it seems like the primaries, you know, whenever they happen, it's the same couple of names that get selected every single time, and then you're literally left voting between the lesser of two evils every single time, and it's very frustrating.
It is.
It's very frustrating. So, but anyway, so I'm gonna hit play on this again. I do want to eventually get through the whole speech, so we can talk about it.
None. You cannot say you love your country only when you win. In that moment, I wasn't looking to the past. I was looking to the future. I spoke of the work at hand, the moment we had to meet. It was, as I told you then, a winter of peril and possibility. Of peril and possibility. We're in the grip of a once-in-a-century pandemic, historic joblessness, a call for racial justice long overdue, clear and present threats to our very democracy. Thank you. And yet I believe then, and I believe now, that progress was and is possible. Justice is achievable. And our best days are not behind us, they're before us. Now it's summer. The winter is past. And with a grateful heart, I stand before you now on this August night to report that democracy has prevailed. Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved.
Okay, so this part right here gets me because he says democracy has prevailed, democracy has been delivered, and democracy. What I don't. What was the last thing that he said? Oh, it must prevail. So, what about Kamala being the person running has done any of that? She wasn't voted for. She was assigned. And so I guess I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
Well, if they tell you it's democracy, then it is. That's how that works, don't you know?
Yeah. It's crazy to me.
It is.
Yes, yeah, we've heard that. It's not Biden. Yeah, he doesn't seem to know what he's saying either. You can tell that he's like, on a teleprompter or something along those lines. Or like I said, maybe he even just practiced the speech a whole bunch of times over the last month. That's why he wasn't seen anywhere. I can just picture them with like a cattle prod, like, say it, Joe, say it until you get it right. His wife like holding his lunch, like, you can eat a sandwich after you say it right. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. All right, let's go again.
You've heard me say it before. We're facing an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine the fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. That's not hyperbole, I mean it literally. We're in a battle for the very soul of America. I ran for president in 2020 because of what I saw in Charlottesville in August of 2017. Extremists coming out of the woods, carrying torches, their veins bulging from their necks, carrying Nazi swastikas, and chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was heard in Germany in the early 30s. neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, so emboldened by a president then in the White House that they saw as an ally. They didn't even bother to wear their hoods. Hate was on the march in America. Old ghosts in new garments, stirring up the oldest divisions, stoking the oldest fears, giving oxygen to the oldest forces that they long sought to tear apart America. In the process, a young woman was killed. When I contacted her mother, I asked about what happened. She told me. When the president was asked what he thought had happened, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God."
Oh, I'm going to mute you for a second. Okay, and so this right here really frustrates me because he's implying that, of course, Republicans are racist and that the people who were there on January 6th are racist and that, you know, their intentions were to seek out and murder somebody and different things like that. I think that can't be further from the truth.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Literally, if you watch videos from January 6th, most of it is people walking through, taking pictures of themselves, different things like that. They're not destroying things. The worst they did was threw papers on the floor, things like that. The life that was lost, it's extremely tragic. But I don't think that anybody's intentions were for somebody to die that day. And so it's very, very terrible. But to imply that Republicans are racist, it's disgusting to me. And there's been a lot of podcasters and TikTokers and things like that that have been talking about this that are frustrated because it doesn't constantly have to be pointed out what color somebody is. It doesn't have to constantly be pointed out. You know, if you're white, you're black, you're white, you're black, you're brown, you're Asian, you're Jamaican, it doesn't have to constantly be pointed out. Most people just live life and just talk to each other despite the color of the other person's skin. I know that racism exists, but it's nowhere near to the extent as to which they try to portray it to be. And yeah, he keeps repeating the hoax over and over again. I know. Yeah, it is exactly like that, Valiant Thor. He forgets he spoke during the State of the Union that the unjabbed should be ashamed and that they would have a winter of death. Remember this. Right. Right. I don't know. This whole narrative that they try to push, it drives me insane. Joe doesn't admit that his best friend, Senator Robert Byrd, was the biggest Klan member. Wow. So
That's what he said. That is what he said and what he meant. That's when I realized, had to listen to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay on the sidelines. So I ran. Because I had no intention of running again. I just lost part of my soul. But I ran with a deep conviction. In America, I know and believe in an America where honesty, dignity, decency still matter. An America where everyone has a fair shot and hate has no safe harbor. An America where the fundamental creed of this nation, that all of us are created equal, is still very much alive. And a broad coalition of Americans joined with me. 81 million voters voted for us, more than any time in all of history. Because of all of you in this room and others, we came together in 2020 to save democracy. As your president, I've been determined to keep America moving forward, not going back, to stand against hate and violence in all its forms, to be a nation where we not only live with but thrive on diversity, demonizing no one, leaving no one behind, and becoming the nation that we profess to be. I also ran to rebuild the backbone of America, the middle class. I made a commitment to you that I'd be a president for all Americans, whether you voted for me or not. We have done that. Studies show the major bills we have passed actually delivered more to red states than blue, because the job of the president is to deliver to all of America. Because of you, and I'm not exaggerating, because of you, we've had one of the most extraordinary 4 years of progress ever, period. When I say we, I mean Kamala and me. Just think about it. COVID no longer controls our lives. We got from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the entire world. Record 16 million new jobs, record small business growth, record high stock market, record high 401ks, wages up, and inflation down, way down, and continuing to go down.
Okay. So
None
the
of that is
economy.
true.
I know. That's what I was
None of
just
it.
getting ready to say.
It's so
horrible.
propaganda.
It's absolutely horrible. There's been so many small businesses that have closed down and have never been able to reopen. There have been, I mean, the way that business loans are right now, it's almost impossible to start a small business if you would want to, because of the interest rates and different things like that. Like everything, the economy in general, I mean, it's just a whole freaking mess. It's just horrible, horrible, horrible. And so the audacity to stand here and be like, everything's great. I mean, like I said, you know, my groceries alone for a 1 month time span has almost gone up by $600 in comparison for what we used to have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what everybody else is thinking. I mean, yeah, I do think that he is trying that I shouldn't say he, it's not him. Let's be clear about this. Whoever is elected president of the United States, they're not in charge. I mean, they are to a point, but it's that behind the scenes group that controls things. It's the senators and House of Representative people who have been in office for, you know, gosh, what's Nancy Pelosi been in office like 80 years now? It feels like. I mean,
She's retired,
oh,
but her butt is still there every day. They
right.
literally had to make her give up her office. She was
That's
like
true.
no longer working and wouldn't give up her office. I mean, she's not going away, and I don't understand why she has so many strings other than she's really good at taking payoffs and making sure people do what other people want them to do.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's not just like that. Let me be clear. It's not just like that on the Democrat Party. We have Republicans that have been in office equally as long that just keep getting voted back in, used loosely, voted back in. And then they just live there. They just literally live there. But as far as the truth about Joe Biden's economy, let's take a look at some of this information. So inflation rates have hit a 40-year high. When was this written? Let me see if I can see a date. Okay, I don't see a date. But it says inflation rates have hit a 40-year high last week, coming in at 9.1%. The cost of everyday staples has also increased. The cost of eggs went up 33.1%, meat 8.2%. I think it's higher than that for meat. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, meat is
it's way higher.
insanely expensive.
Yeah.
Hi, Seal. Nice of you to join us.
Hey,
How
let's
are
put a
you?
fake picture in there. I'm good. I'm good. Just listening. I wanted to come up here in case I wanted to interject something.
No, that's good. I agree,
Um,
Mama Bear. Don't gaslight me, Joe, and tell me that everything happened that didn't. And thanks to you and your buddies in office, knock it off. I know. Yeah, Congress runs the government.
you were talking about meat prices a minute ago.
Mhm.
So last week I was determined to find some ground meat within a 30-mile range that was less than $7 a pound. I found some, but it was 2 hours away.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was, I know, it was like $3.99 a pound. Of course, I would have used it in gas going up there. But I
Right.
cannot get over ground meat, and we're not talking the good ground meat. We're talking Walmart, you know.
Right.
And they put stuff in their meat. Y'all notice
Hmm.
how red it stays for such a
Yeah.
long time?
It's the preservatives and stuff that they put in there.
It
This
Yeah.
doesn't
is
die.
this is actually something that I was going to show you guys. So the local farm by me, you can buy ground beef, and it's I think 4.59 a pound, or something like that. It's like 4.59, I want to say, a pound for their like more for the middle grade stuff. The more lean stuff is up over 5 something a pound. And then they have that mid range. But so Walmart, those little tubes of meat, like the not meat. Do you know what I'm
Oh
talking about?
yeah. Yeah.
Um, those are, let me pull it up real quick so that you guys know I'm not lying. Let me make sure my address is not showing. Hold on. Somebody else's address up. Last thing I want to do, unless you guys are going to send me some stuffs. Let me pull
Yeah.
this
Are you
up.
serious? 4.75?
It's like, yeah, it's like around 4 something if you buy it in bulk. So you have to buy enough and then they give it to you at that lower price. But it's the fresh stuff. So the Walmart near us, for the 1 pound of 80% ground beef, 80%, 20% fat, is $5.33 a pound for those little chub rolls right now. I
Good gosh.
remember I remember like 2, 3 years ago, I used to buy that for like, chili or something that you like just throw meat in, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
those used to be like 3 something a pound, and even the cheap, like, non-meat meat is that much. For a pound of ground beef of the 93.7, it's 7.77 a pound.
Hmm.
That's insane to me. And then they're 80%, 20%, it's 5.93. Like, why is meat so much? But so I don't buy Walmart meat for exactly what you said. I either go to, we have Giant Eagle by my house, or we have that local butcher. But I only go to the butcher if I'm going to be buying like a large amount, like stocking my freezers and stuff. Because otherwise it is more expensive to just go buy a pound, you know what I mean, than it is to buy, half a calf or whatever. So let me see, Giant Eagle, what their prices are. So they get sales every now and then, and you get it at like cheaper prices. But I posted that short the other day. I don't know how many of you guys seen that. They were completely wiped out. There was no ground beef.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I don't know what's going on. As far as I don't know what's going on. Like, where is the ground beef at? Like, it was all pork and
Where's the
chicken and things like that.
where's the
Where's the
beef?
beef? Absolutely.
Oh, well, our Walmart, I don't know why it's taking them so long, but I walked in there and had a freaking panic attack. I remember when I was talking, I think I was talking to y'all or telling you, they
Mhm.
rearranged everything in there. I make my grocery list because I know the aisles, so I know what's on each aisle. And they
Mhm.
had everything. It was all discombobulated in there. And I was just wanted to leave. I just wanted to leave my basket and just go. Um,
Right?
it was awful, but they didn't have a large meat selection.
Mhm.
And I was, I don't know. They have like they have the Angus beef, which is supposed to be really good, and then they have the cheaper cut, which is in the white package
Right.
down here. Right, that was so high. The cheaper cut was so high. I'm like, I'll never eat a steak again. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And someone mentioned that the vegetables are high,
Mhm.
ridiculously high.
Oh yeah.
They just don't want us to be healthy.
It's true
They,
though. It's so true. And we have this farmers market right by my house that we'll go to sometimes, and even they are outrageously high right now. But to go to the store and get a freaking bag of grapes, right? A bag of grapes
yeah,
in Pennsylvania right now, it's like almost $12 for a bag of grapes. It's like, are you kidding me? My kids can eat a bag of grapes before we even get home from the store. You know what I mean? Like they love fruit and stuff. And so we have strawberry bushes, we have blueberry bushes. My mother-in-law grows apples and peaches and things like that. And it's gotten to the point now where a lot of people, I feel like, are starting to plant gardens and try to be self-sustainable on fruits and vegetables and things like that. But then we're getting to the point now that people just can't survive. You can't do it. I don't know if you guys' local YMCA was doing this, but our YMCA had gotten government funding and provided lunch for all children between 0 and 18 years old all summer long, that you could go pick up for your kids to be able to eat food all summer. Now, we didn't take part in this, but I do know people that did. And it's mind blowing to me that listen, I love it. It wasn't funded by the YMCA. It was something that the government had funded. But my question is, why are we able to fund things like that and to do things like that instead of just making sure that inflation isn't so high so that people can afford to eat, drink, do things? You know what I mean? We mentioned meat prices up 8.2%. Gasoline is up 59.9%. Used cars are up 7.1%. Air travel up 34.1%. I mean, it's all over. Every part of our economy right now is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just frustrating. And I know every single family is feeling it. That's one of those things where I never really I know that there are creators that really push their memberships and their monetization and things like that. And listen, anything donated always helps. Everything as far as memberships, joining the channel, things like that, it absolutely helps because this is something that I do to ultimately cover cases that I want to cover, talk about true crime, talk about things that I want to talk about, but also to help support my family. But at the same time, I don't feel comfortable like really pushing that on people. And then being in a situation where, I'm taking somebody's last $10 or $10 that could have went to their family. Does that make sense? And so somebody has asked a couple times in chat lately why you're seeing ads during live streams. Ads during the live streams, just so you guys know, that helps make up for the fact that I'm not asking you necessarily to donate to the channel. Does that make sense? To help pay the channel's bills, because obviously we pay for StreamYard, we pay for Canva, we pay for other services in order to bring this channel to you. And so the ads being run supports the channel without me having to sit here and panhandle from everybody for support. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Anyways, so let's see here. You can't help but think it's the same thing they are doing with gas prices and forcing electric vehicles, etc., while manipulating the restrictions on production to reduce supply and drive up prices. So here's my thing about electric cars. In our area, we have rolling blackouts because of the power supply not being enough during the summer months whenever it's extremely hot, or during the winter months whenever it's extremely cold. They'll do rolling blackouts where, okay, at this time every day you're going to be without power for 1 to 2 hours, right? And they let you know in advance, hey, we're going to shut off your power for X amount of time and you're going to be in a blackout to help ease the pressure on the system. If every single person in my neighborhood had an electric car that was plugging in, that was also pulling on that power system, how in the world would the power system support that?
Exactly.
Yeah, energy costs, electric bills are sky high already. I agree, Kim. Your company told you that in December it's going up another 20%. Oh my God,
Oh.
Kim.
To the no.
Oh, that is so bad. That is so bad. And so right now, this is the economy that we're looking at. And there are a lot of things to blame. I don't necessarily think that it's just Joe's fault. I don't think that, that necessarily that he's all to blame, because at the end of the day, he doesn't make the policies. It's the people in these offices behind him that put him out and let him be the face that's going to get slaughtered by the media and stuff that are making these policies. And then he's just signing them into laws and things like that. And so it's, I don't know. It's a question. It's a question to who to blame. Same with rolling blackouts for you guys. You're in California. See, and so you probably have much, much higher bills than we do on top of that. They say your vehicles hurt the economy, but what about private jets or planes? Yeah, it's the agenda. Absolutely. So let me get back to his speech, though. I just did want to point out, he's saying all these numbers as if they're supposed to be true. Okay, so wait, this is from back in 2022. So let me see if I can find actually updated numbers and see where it's come since then, to give you guys a more accurate description. Because the last thing that I want to do is give it inaccurate. I know it's probably way worse.
It's way worse.
Yeah, for sure.
The smallest racial wealth gap in 20 years. And yes, we both know we have more to do, but we're moving in the right direction. More Americans have peace of mind that comes from having health insurance. More Americans have health insurance today than ever before in American history. And after, as a young senator beginning to fight for 50 years to give Medicare the power to negotiate low prescription drug prices, we finally beat pharma.
What's wrong?
Oh, I didn't understand. I was trying to listen.
You're good. Okay. Let me just rewind what he says here.
Right there, yeah.
And
Yeah,
after,
because it ain't true either.
As a young senator beginning to fight for 50 years to give Medicare the power to negotiate low prescription drug prices, we finally beat Big Pharma. And guess who cast the tie-breaking vote? Vice President, soon-to-be President Kamala Harris. And now it's the law of the land. Instead of paying $400 a month for insulin, seniors with diabetes will pay $35 a month.
No.
This is the biggest load of bull crap. I know people on insulin. That is not true. Go ahead, Bushes. What were you going to say?
I said, no, it's not true. I'm diabetic, but I'm not on insulin, but I'm on a bunch of damn pills. And no, it's not true. And the medication that I actually really need is a $200 a month copay.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
Well, unless it's going to come down in the future, but it's not. And don't don't come cutting your drug prices of like how many months, like 2 or 3 months before the election. I mean, why didn't you do it 4 years ago? But no, I don't think that's not true at all. What he's talking about.
So what he's actually talking about is for people who are on Medicare D. Let me pull this up. People who are on Medicare D prescription plans, they can get insulin at no more than $35 a month. Medicare D. So now,
well, he also capped metformin across the board. That has been done.
So
when
here's the
is that
kicker,
going to take place?
Here's the kicker, though. So this was all actually stuff that was established by Trump before he left office in 2020. Look at this. In 2020, he established the voluntary time-limited module for the Medicare and Medicaid, known as Part D Senior Savings Module. This is where the Medicare D takes place or covers at least one dose, a form of type of insulin for no more than $35 a month. Now, notice it says at least one dose. Many people who are on insulin are on the more than one type. And so if it's only giving you one dose at $35 per month, like one type, is it giving you all of them? No. But this is something that Trump did, and the Biden administration kind of got because of something that he had put into place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then the Biden administration did sign the Inflation Reduction Act, which included the provision that requires all Part D plans to charge no more than $35 per month for all covered insurance products. And so he did open that up to be more than one dose, but this was something that was already set in motion by Trump. But again, this is only for people who are on Medicare D. Now, I wonder how many people are on Medicare D.
Not as
I don't.
many as that are on the other kinds of Medicare.
Right.
We can't afford Medicare D for Pete
Let me see.
because he is older than
He's an old man. Okay, so in order
me.
to be eligible for Medicare D, you must meet the following requirements. You must be a U.S. citizen. You must be enrolled in Medicare A, which is the hospital insurance, or medical insurance B. You have to live in the service area. You must have no other drug coverage, and you must have a Medicare drug plan through or Medicare drug coverage through a private plan. And then let's see, is there an income? So Medicare D enrollees with higher incomes may pay premiums such as $12 to $81 per month for the Medicare D. So, but you have to be enrolled in Medicaid to get it for free. Let's see.
You can't get Medicaid if you're on Medicare, then.
Right.
Can
Well,
you?
so you
No,
can
you
get
can't.
You
Medicare.
can if you have
if
cancer,
yeah, like there's
Okay.
different.
but
Yeah.
anything else, you're screwed.
It says no, if you are enrolled in Medicaid and become eligible for Medicare drug benefits, you will automatically be enrolled in Medicare Type D and pay no premium for it. But this isn't something that every adult gets. This isn't something
Right.
that every person who has diabetes gets. So I don't see how it's really beating Big Pharma. All it's doing is it's not beating Big Pharma. It's just making sure that the government pays for the insulin for the people
Yeah.
who qualify for this government program. And I don't disagree with that. Let me be clear. I do think that insulin should be one of those things that's covered. I mean, even paying
Any
$35
kind of
is
life
too much
saving.
because
Yeah.
it's not like you
But I'm
can
going to tell
control.
you that doesn't cover all types of diabetic medication. And
It's only going to cover just
it only covers
certain
certain
ones.
ones
Hmm.
and leaves like the other ones out completely.
But oh yeah, what about cancer? Yeah, I think they need to do with cancer drugs. Oh my God, they're outrageous.
Yeah.
Hmm. So
Hope in the comments.
currently in the United States, there are 50.5 million Medicare beneficiaries. Looks like trying to see like a percentage of adults. So I don't know. I'm going to keep looking into this. But the point is, it's not everybody. It's not all insulin. It's not, they're making it sound like something that it's not. Like, don't try to be like, all insulin is $35. Like, meh. No, it's not.
No.
No, it's not. You think they
You
kept
know, and I
price?
think people know that honestly, and I do think some people can see through that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I
because you're
do.
dealing with a bunch of young people who don't know anything about diabetes, who don't know anything about illness, who don't know anything about Medicare. These new
Well,
voters coming in are young and they don't know.
Absolutely. I've been watching some guy who has been walking the streets and he goes outside of all of the protests, Trump, Biden, wherever. He go not protest, but all of the speeches and things like that. And he's just interviewing people. He doesn't give his opinion. He just asks them questions and gets their opinion on different things. And it's really honestly shocking the amount of people who are literally just like repeating what you would see on headlines. But then whenever you dive
right.
deeper into what they know, they don't actually know.
Yeah.
Like, for example, whenever it comes to Harris, he'll be like, hey, who are you voting for? And whenever they say Harris, he'll be like, well, why is that your choice? Why is that who you're voting for? And they usually say, well, because she's done such a great job. I like her policies. She's a woman. I think we need a biracial woman in office, things like that. But then whenever he says, well, which policy did she pass that you like? They have no idea. Or if you ask them, what has she done in the last 3.5 years that makes you think that she would be a great president? They can't tell you. And then they say, well, then he'll ask them things like, well, why are you against Trump? And what do you think um, that what do you think that Trump would do, or why won't you vote for him, or things like that? And they usually say, well, he's a dictator. He says mean, horrible things. He's mean to the mentally handicapped. Like it's all feelings. It's all about the feelings and the way that he makes them feel, or the way that the headlines make them feel about Trump, as to why they won't support or vote for him. But they
Exactly.
also don't know any of his policies. They don't know anything that he stands for, the same way that they don't know anything that Harris stands for. But they're voting for her because orange man bad, biracial candidate good, basically.
Yeah, it's
And
it's all propaganda.
right, it is. It really is. And so one of the things that I found out just doing research and trying to look into this more and more and more, and surfing through different channels, is there is a slew of black content creators that are standing against Harris, trying to make sure that the black community in general realizes how much she is pandering for their vote, and trying to like wake up the audiences, and make sure that they realize, why is she not talking about politics? Why is she not talking about policies? But she's just putting on rap concerts for you and things like that, to try to win your vote that way. Make them have fun, make them ignore the fact that she can do nothing for them, and get their vote that way. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of content creators that are doing that. Well, there was a man who came out. He has millions of subscribers on what's the video game? What's the video game
Beast,
platform?
Mr. Beast,
No,
or
no, no, no. So
oh, if
talking-
I know who you're talking about.
it's not like TikTok or anything like that, but what's that platform that video gamers use a lot of times? Like not YouTube, not TikTok, not Rumble. Anyway, so he has this huge following. He also has a following on YouTube. Well, he put out a video the other day. The Harris administration has reached out to him, and has asked him, well, offered him $10,000 to promote Harris from his platform. And he did a live stream discussing the fact, and like showing evidence that they have offered to pay for his support, $10,000 to promote Harris to his audience. Twitch, thank you so much, Mama Bear. Twitch is what I was thinking of.
When
And
you gotta
he's
buy
like,
supporters.
right. And he's like, absolutely not. He was like, there is no way. He's like, why do they think that just by what I'm going to talk to the 18 to 25-year-old is like his audience? He's like, they think that because I'm a black man, and because my demographic is 18 to 25 years old, that I can manipulate you guys into who to vote for. He's like, I will not be bought. And I was just mind blown that he showed all of this information, showing that Harris's administration was trying to pay for his support. And I was just, that's exactly what they're doing. And so it's just sad. It's just really sad. Thank you so much for the super chat. Great discussion today. Thank you for letting me. Yeah, hey, I appreciate this, the back and forth. Absolutely. And like I said, all opinions are welcome. As far as people who, if you support Harris, tell me why. Tell me why. Change my mind, because that's where I'm at with it. I just want to understand everybody's viewpoint. I do have Democratic family members who are very, very much so anti-Trump, but they're still not pro Harris either. But they're voting
Yeah.
for her. They are saying that they're
Yeah.
going to vote for her regardless, because they are terrified of what Trump will do to our country. And I'm
Oh
sitting
my
there
God,
thinking to
go
myself,
out
like,
there and
ugh.
look at third party. There's two other parties that are third party that are running. Go investigate their people. Go do a web search. Go look. Do not vote for somebody that you know and you don't believe is going to do a good job. Because that is throwing your vote away. Go out there and vote for somebody you can live with.
It'll, and when you do that, there's just always that line though, that fine line. So when people will go vote for another, like I had mentioned earlier, like writing in or voting for a different party, it's going to take away from you're going to get either a Republican or a Democrat. So
Maybe, but they didn't get that vote, and at least that sends a
right,
message back. It sends a message back as to how displeased the people are if they tell the truth about the percentages. Because
Here's
when Gary Johnson ran, they didn't tell the truth. And
mhm,
that stuff is still going on in court.
yeah. And so here's the problem I think that most people see with that. Whenever you do that and you vote that third party candidate and then you see the lesser of two evils lose by just a few votes, it's kind of like that kick in the butt where it's like, dang, I could have at least chose the lesser of two evils. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying that we're in a position between the lesser of two evils. I personally, in my opinion, I'm going to be voting for Trump, and he did not pay me to say that. But the reason is I had a better life for my family whenever he was in office. Financially, we were more stable. I felt more comfortable as a Christian to be more open about my thoughts and my opinions and speaking out about my religious background and things like that, and just to talk about God. Whereas I feel like under the regimes that have been in place, during the last 3.5 years, there has been so much hatred and just intolerance towards Christians. And
Well, I'm
so,
going to tell you that I may never vote Democrat again
yeah,
after the cutthroat, double faced
all the
stuff
crap.
that just went on with Israel
Mhm.
that this administration continues to pull.
Yeah,
And I'm not okay with it.
right, right. And like I said, I think that RLK was probably the who should have been the Democrat pick, but they didn't want him. They didn't want him, and they didn't support him, and they went with this far, 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 far. I
well,
can't even call this left. This isn't even the Democratic Party anymore, in my opinion. I don't
It's
even think
not.
we're looking at Democrat versus Republican. I mean, I
No,
really think that we are
we're
looking at
looking
communist
at
versus Republican.
communists.
Right.
It is. I mean, most of these people are members of the Communist Party, but yet running Democrat in the US. But they're talking to communist people overseas. And this has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah. And I agree with what Ocean Tide is saying here too. I'm more concerned with the senators and the representatives of Congress who will be in control. I
exactly,
fully agree with that because
exactly, yeah.
it's the same thing. We keep trying to change the face of the dragon, but we're not getting rid of the dragon, right? We're just changing the face, having it put on a different mask and stand in front of us. That's what the president is. They're just the mask, but they're not what's deadly there. They're not the body of this
Literally.
dragon that is destroying this nation. And so you mean literally because of Biden's mask?
Literally.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But we're
Oh,
changing the face of the nation, but we're not actually changing who is controlling the nation. So, ooh, what just happened?
oh, they're coming after you, girl.
Yeah, they're like trying to shut down my stream. My whole
Listen, there
screen
was a
went black.
We
reporter
got
that spoke out about Harris's financial policies the other day, and immediately she was put on a terrorist watch list. A reporter
Seen
from
really.
that.
TV.
I seen that.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned the cost of inhalers. Lily, my grandpap died because he could not afford his inhalers. It was one of those things where he was on Advair. Advair is currently, as of January of 2024, the lowest dose of Advair is 186.98 per month. And whenever he was on it, he was on one of the higher doses. And I want to say it was somewhere around $370 some a month for him to get his Advair prescriptions. And he literally would choose between, am I going to buy groceries or my inhaler? He would
Yeah.
choose between, am I going to pay my rent or buy my inhaler? And so
Mm.
he literally ended up dying from his complications because he would try to not buy his medication. And there are so many people in this country that make that decision on a
My
day-to-day
godmother died
basis.
because she gave her antibiotics to another household member that because they couldn't afford for him to go to the doctor. And she gave him her antibiotics and it killed her. It literally killed her.
Yeah. And I agree
I
with this
mean,
too,
in this
Trish.
economy, it is not easy for retired folks.
No, not at all. And it's just getting worse and harder. And this one is Trish says, I think as a society, it's helpful to be able to talk about things and understand that we don't have to agree with everything someone says to vote for them or appreciate them. I agree with this. There are redeeming qualities about policies. I'm not even going to say Harris. I can't because I don't even know where she stands on anything. So I can't talk about her policies because she's not, and she's doing these rallies and she's repeating the same speech over and over again at these rallies. And then whenever they're trying to corner her for interviews, she's giving us one or two sentences, and she's not telling us what her actual policies are. She's not setting in stone what anything is. But
Because look,
go ahead.
because she needs to be unburdened by what is. Have y'all seen that is her
Yeah.
thing? Unburdened from what was. And I'm like, what are
She
you
had
talking about?
one job, secure the border. One job.
Well,
Lady,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of the rest of your ideas from this point. I
yeah.
really don't. I really, really don't. My faith is shook. It's gone. And I don't trust her to do anything.
You know what's sad?
What
I
has
really don't trust
you know
for
what
me, I
can
don't
be
really
unburdened by what has
yeah.
been, what can
There
be unburdened by what has been, what can be unburdened by what has been, what can be unburdened by what has been, what we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been, what can be unburdened by what has been, what can be unburdened by what has been, what can be
well I'll tell
unburdened
you.
by what has been, what can be unburdened by what has been.
Well,
I don't feel
we'll be
unburdened.
hopefully we'll be unburdened and hopefully in November.
Hopefully in November we can be unburdened by what has been. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Okay, look, you put up, I saw a picture of Clinton. This is something I was going to say. So Pete and I were talking earlier. You know, when you were talking about, oh, what was it a minute ago? Um, oh my God, I need more caffeine. It'll come to me in a minute. I'm sorry. It was because Pete and I were talking about people voting for the person. Because we were even talking when Clinton was president. I think that's the one time that I remember the economy was great and we were in the black actually. Now, and he was a
Right up
I was proud.
until he did the thing
Yeah,
which sent our
yeah,
economy sliding. Okay,
right,
let's not forget. First thing he did when he got into office, he signed NAFTA. Okay, our economy at that point was not good. Even though Bush put it on the floor, Clinton signed off on it. The second thing he did was cutthroat, balance the budget in a way that would send us into a depression. And
right. I didn't say the whole
people
time.
people don't realize that. I mean, it didn't hit right away, but it didn't take long.
Who do you think was the last Democratic candidate that was actually a full-on Democrat and not more leaning towards this socialist, communist type of a type of policies?
John F. Kennedy Jr.
You think?
I don't know. I'm going to go with Jimmy Carter.
Wow, you think it was that long ago?
Yeah, because I mean, things were not great. I'm just going to tell you, I lived through all that. So I think, I lived through the whole recession, and everything. But as far as like him as a person and him as a president and his soul, I believe that's the true Democrat, uh, with the old values, who stood up for the values of the party. There didn't used to be so much um polarism, you know what I mean? It's just gotten bad. Now it's just bad and good.
Yeah,
Um they could work together. Republicans and Democrats could work together.
right.
And I haven't seen that in a very long time. It's gotten so much worse the past mm, 12 years.
Right. So let's take a look at some of the policies. I know we're supposed to be watching the DNC. We're only 16 minutes in, and we already have such a great conversation going. But so the policies that they have listed. So this is on News Nation. This is from August 7th. So this is kind of an up to date, but this is what they have the stance on for each of the policies so far, anyways. Like I said, with Harris, it's kind of hard to know exactly what she stands for because they're going off based off of things that Joe has done, not necessarily based off of what Harris is saying that she's going to do, because we haven't talked to Harris. They haven't talked to Harris. We haven't seen stuff from her. So Donald Trump on abortion is the first thing, and I know that this is something that a lot of people are very, very passionate about their stance on abortion. So Trump is saying that he wouldn't initially say whether he supported a federal ban. He did call for overturning the landmark abortion rights Roe v. Roe versus Wade, which we know was overturned, and that was a great victory. He said in April of 2024, he said on Truth Social that it would be best if states handled abortion the way that their constituents wants, adding that he is in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. So he also said that he strongly supports fertility treatments and that he has never and will never advocate for restricting birth control or any other contraceptives. So this is where Trump stands on abortion, despite the way that the news media says things. He's not against necessarily banning it or getting rid of it or anything like that. It's more about putting it back into the state's hands, but then keeping it for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. So Harris is aligned with Biden on this, stating that everything is, as she has said, gone as far as saying everything is at stake regarding women's reproductive rights. She says that she is in favor of ensuring all American women have access to legal abortions. Every person of what gender should understand that if such a fundamental freedom, such as the right to make decisions about your own body, can be taken, be aware of what other freedoms may be at stake. She wrote on X, Twitter, that Trump would ban abortions nationwide. She then added that President Joe Biden and I will do everything in our power to stop him and restore women's reproductive freedom. She has also visited Planned Parenthood in Minnesota, describing banning or heavy restrictions of abortions as immoral. And she has said, how dare elected leaders believe that they are in a better position to tell women what they need. And then Kennedy, as far as this goes, referred to the debate between Biden and Trump as depressing and said that abortion should be the choice of the woman. In his real-time response to the debate, he said that an intervention or state intervention on the issues of abortion should not happen until the fetus reaches viability, He also says that he does not support late-term abortions, and that he felt that every abortion is a tragedy and that women must have the abortions because they can't afford to have the child. If elected, he pledged to put money into childcare, which he said would stop abortions. He says, "My
He
policy is
is
more
correct.
choices and fewer abortions." So this is what I mean by him being more towards what I feel like most Democrats are
Uh-huh.
hoping for.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas Kamala, I feel like, attacked emotions and tried to get people emotionally triggered with what she is saying and the narrative that she is putting out versus what's actually taking place for Trump. Now, I will say that I agree more so with Trump on this issue, and I know this is something that I try not to speak on because I know it's a hot topic for a lot of the people who follow me, but I do agree more with putting it to the states and letting the states make their individual choices. However, leaving that exception for rape, incest, and the life of the mother, I do feel like that would be, you know, that's more towards my philosophy, anyways. Um, because for me, you're still leaving. These people are like, oh well, if somebody was raped, you're forcing them to carry this baby and you're doing all these horrible things. Like, no, that's not what Trump said. And so to take, like, it's not quite as extreme as what Harris is pointing out there and saying, like, oh, he's trying to take away your fundamental freedoms, and if he can take away that freedom, imagine all the other freedoms that he's going to take. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, I can tell you, I know a good many of mothers that had abortions that wanted their children, that wanted them desperately, and felt like they didn't have a choice because they couldn't afford the daycare,
Yeah.
especially mothers that already had children. They were literally choosing between that baby and the ones they had because there was no daycare assistance.
Yeah. And so that's where Kennedy is, where he's saying, hey, we should fund childcare. We should put money into those types of things to help the children once they're born, not so much, necessarily abort them so that they can never be born. And so that does need to happen, regardless of what we stand for. As a lifelong Minnesotan, you are not a fan of Waltz. Wow. And no, Kim, I did not see this. She said, did you see the tweets going around about the OBGYN doctors saying if their patients are voting for Trump, they will cause their baby harm? That's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That woman should lose her license. And so we'll jump from this over to inflation. So Trump has promised lower taxes, bigger paychecks, and more jobs for American workers by enacting universal baseline tariffs. The reward domestic production and tax foreign companies. He said that he'd lower interest rates, claimed that to have achieved the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, 3.5%. 6.4 million jobs added before the pandemic. During his presidency, federal debt held by public rose from $14.4 trillion to $21.6 trillion, influenced by his tax cuts, particularly his slashes to the corporate tax rate. And then the under Harris, it says shortly after taking office, Vice President Biden, the administration signed American Rescue Plan, $2 trillion into the stimulus package, and delivered checks to Americans, boosted unemployment insurance and the child tax credit. Inflation peaked to a 4-decade high to 9% around 2022, but since receded to around 3.5%. How is that true? I feel like we have gone so high in prices since even 2022. If we're looking back just 2 years ago, I don't see how that's reality, that it's
Listen,
lower.
I'm going to tell you something. Even with COVID hitting Trump, he still made jobs.
Mhm.
He did. And I'm going to tell you something. He started working on Detroit. If you've looked at Detroit, and the Democrats killed Detroit. They did with NAFTA and everything else they did. They are the ones that gutted Detroit. He started trying to fix that.
Right? Just scrolling down to see. Probably not gonna, we'll stop at inflation, then we'll watch a little bit more of this video because I know some of you guys did come to watch the video. So with this, it says the tax credits obviously for children up to $6,000 is what she's saying. It's funny because she said that after Trump said that or not Trump, Vance said that they want to do tax credits up to $5,000, and then Harris came out like the following week and was like, "We're going to do tax credits up to $6,000," and it was like, okay, I'm just going to one up everything that they say, I guess. So Kennedy, on the other hand, he is wanting to enact policies that favor small and medium businesses and break up too big to fail banks and monopolies. When crisis strikes, the bail out homeowners, debtors, and small business owners. Kennedy also wants to provide tax-free government-backed mortgage bonds to lower the interest rate and would pair his plan with aggressive, affordable housing programs. This also, this is where I'm like, this sounds like a good plan to me, Mr. Kennedy. It sucks that your party did not want you and that they forced you over into this independent status. He also
Yes,
believes that
because that is
healthcare.
a step that does not collapse our country. It
Mhm.
helps, you see. And I feel like other people got agenda where they're deliberately trying to collapse us because they getting foreign money to run from all the places that want us to collapse. And I
Right,
think that's a problem.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. Now I will say, so my husband works at a manufacturing plant, and whenever Trump enacted the tariffs during this last time that he was in office, it was actually something that hurt my husband's business a little bit because they could not get the materials that they needed to actually manufacture the items that they were manufacturing because the materials that they need were coming from China. And so the tariffs made the materials themselves cost more money, and then ultimately made it harder for them to get them. So they did end up, having to find other types of materials and things like that. But that's something that you need to keep in mind. So if they put tariffs on things and everything like rubber and plastics and things like that is continuing to be only in other areas of the world, that could affect us. But I do fully think that these manufacturing jobs need to come back. I mean, we are seeing right now in America we're just not manufacturing, we're not building things and stuff like that, but it's also creating this atmosphere where people just don't want to have to do things. I would say the vast majority of individuals between the ages of 18 and 30 want to try to just get YouTube or TikTok famous, or do like these at home type opportunities or finance, like they don't want to work with their hands. And I'm worried that we're going to be in a situation where blue collar jobs, once the people who are currently in the blue collar jobs retire or die off from old age, that we're not going to have a skilled laboring force.
We
Uh,
hardly have any blue collar jobs left.
right.
You
That's
really
that's what I'm
don't.
saying. Clinton killed them all and was like,
Hmm.
"Hey, y'all, learn computers."
Yeah.
I'll
And
tell you
so
what,
good.
which whenever boomers and Gen Xers are gone, or no, not Gen X, yeah, the ones right after me. Let's see. Uh, are they, what's Gen, yeah, Gen X. Whenever they're gone, I don't know what's going to happen to all of you. I mean, the ones that are younger, I'm talking about like the ones that are in their 30s right now.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna have to get serious
Yeah.
about teaching your children skills. Because the computers, I know that one day the grid is going to go down. It's gonna happen. It
And people
will.
won't be able to survive, straight up.
Right.
I mean, the older generation, like I said, 40s and up, probably will have some basic skills. But I agree. I feel like the generation, not even, it's part of my generation, but I feel like the people in their 30s and below, if they don't have older people in their lives to help them, I really, really, really truly worry for what our future is. There's not very many people who know how to weld or plumb or do electrical or carpentry or, you know, any of those types of things. And that's my concern. You know, who's going to fix your vehicles in 20 years if every single person just learns how to make YouTube successful, or just learns how to, you know, work
Right.
on video games, or, you know, and so it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. But even what I do, I hire my job, what I do for my, so I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool, take care of my kids, things like that. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel, but then
You're right.
outside of that, I also work part-time. And my part-time job is as I hire people for other work from home websites. And so I'm getting on the phone with people who want to make bunches of money just sitting at home all the time. And that's great and all, but I'm talking to people who are like, you know, 20-ish years old. They've never done anything. They're just leaving school. Or, you know, 18 to, I would say 18 to 23 is probably the most
One of us
popular
is
age range.
roboting.
Hmm?
Um,
What?
I don't know. One of us is roboting.
Is it me? Can you guys hear me okay? Put a one in
Yeah,
the chat if you can hear me.
I can now.
You can now. Okay. And
Uh,
so these kids that I'm talking to, like their work history is just it's crazy to me. You know what I mean? This is something that I'm doing because I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, trying to make sure that my kids are raised to be successful humans, because I don't think that whenever I was in school, I was given the things that I needed to leave school as a lower to middle class child and be able to be successful on my own without financial wealth being passed down. Does that make sense? And so in order to be successful in this country, like, you have to have some type of skill. You have to have the ability to do something. And I don't think that that's provided by the public school system. I don't.
no, they don't. They want them to be on the computer.
Hmm.
They're everything is going toward tech. You have to have skilled trade laborers in order to keep things moving and going. We can't live off robots and technology. I
Right.
mean, because it breaks down. Um,
I
I
got to
don't
tell you
know.
something, and here's the thing: 63% of our farmers are about to retire with no
Yeah,
one that wants to farm in the family.
Yep.
And we're about to have a crisis
Yeah.
of lack of food because nobody wants to grow it.
No, and I truly believe it and agree with that, because the farm literally right behind my house. Well, so we've had two farms locally that have closed down. The farm right behind my house, beautiful, amazing farm. They supply all of the restaurants in our local area with all of their vegetables and fruits and things like that, for like their salad bars and corn, and supply our local Walmart with corn, and
or
locally grocery store. Like they supply all of that, and their son does not want to take over the family business, and so they sold out to the coal mine, and I now have a coal mine in my backyard instead of a farm. And then the other farm that was up the road, you know, they passed it down to their son. He ran it for a year and then gave up.
Yep.
And just sold it out to the highest bidder, basically. And it's no longer farming goods. I'm pretty sure they're getting ready to build a building there to farm cryptocurrency. Like, they
Yeah.
sold
uh,
a farm to now farm crypto, and I'm like, what do you mean farm crypto? And basically they're going to be running a bunch of computers to pull fractions of numbers out of bank transactions or something and create this cryptocurrency. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They're working on creating imaginary money instead of, creating foods and goods and services. But I agree, like, we're going to be hurting once our farmers and our blue collar workers, once the generation before me starts retiring, I genuinely am concerned for the future. And I told my son, I was like, you can go to college.
No, it's not the generation before you, because that's Gen X. No, it's the baby boomers.
Well, no, I'm Gen X.
They're still working. They're
I
still
am,
working. Those boomers are working.
yeah. No, I am Gen X.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Once the baby boomers all start retiring, like we're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, my brother-in-law is 72.
Mhm.
He has to work, he still has to work full time in order for him and my sister to make it because of their retirement, their social security and everything doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. He should be enjoying his life and not working 8 and 10 hours a day at 72 years old.
My mom's 74. She hadn't quit working. She can't afford it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But this is something that I'm trying to instill in my son. Like, listen, if you want to grow up and you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, that's fine. But before you make that decision to do those things, to become a white collar trade, you are going to learn all of the blue collar things. Like he already knows how to change brakes and rotors and basic things on cars and do oil and stuff like that. He's 13. We have taught him basic electrical. He has learned basic plumbing. You know what I mean? And so someday, whenever he goes out and gets his own home and things like that, I want him to be able to fix things himself. Or if he decides, like, and I'm not going to force him to, but if he decides to go into a trade, that's something that he could do too. And I was explaining to him, because so little people are going into trades, we are seeing people who know how to do electrical making, insane amounts of money to do it because there's just no electricians around or there's no
Exactly.
plumbers around. And so that's something that I told him, keep in mind, you could probably make more as an electrician in 20 years than you ever could as a doctor or a lawyer. So, but that's one of the things, like he's going to be going to Votech soon to pick a trade. And I went to make sure that, he's able to choose something, not so much so that he has to do it, but so that he can have that background. I would prefer if he went for something like welding, because I feel like, the other stuff you can learn basic construction knowledge just about anywhere, but welding, getting a welding certificate, it can be phenomenal for your future if you ever have to fall back on that. So
Look,
but
electricians too. I'll say that. That's one
yeah,
of the largest.
mm-hmm.
Pete retired from the electrical union. It's an awesome trade. I mean, I think that people need to know how to do that. We're going to need them in the future. We really are.
I agree. Let me hit play on this speech though. Let's see what else he says. Sorry. I know I've been like going, gosh, we've been paused for longer than we've watched. So let me see what they have to say.
The law we passed already includes, starting in January, every senior's total prescription cost can be capped at $2,000 no matter how expensive the drugs they have. And what we don't focus on, and our Republican friends don't seem to understand, our reforms don't just save seniors money, they save the American taxpayers money. You know what we just passed saved? It saved $160 billion over the next decade. That's not hyperbole. It's because Medicare no longer has to pay those exorbitant prices to the big pharma. But look, thank you, Kamala, too. Look, folks, how can we have the strongest economy in the world without the best infrastructure in the world? Donald Trump promised infrastructure week every week for 4 years, and he never built a damn thing. But now, because of what Kamala and I have done, remember we were told we couldn't get it done. Remember when we came into office, we couldn't get anything passed? But right now, we're giving America an infrastructure decade, not week. We're modernizing our roads, our bridges, our ports, our airports, our trains, our buses. We're removing every lead pipe from schools and homes so every child can drink clean water. We're providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where they live, not unlike what Roosevelt did with electricity. And so much more.
Huh?
We are uniting the country. We're growing our economy. We're improving our quality of life. And we're building a better America. Because that's who we are. How can we be the strong?
What you laughing at?
So I'm looking at, so I got like one phone, I'm looking at the video, and then the other phone, I got the stream, the start up, but you could hear him going, but his mouth was just moving, but the words weren't coming out. It just looked funny, that's all.
That's funny.
I mean, I think it was behind or something on this other phone,
Mm-hmm.
but his mouth just does move. No.
D. Hartnell said, if you ask me, a guy who knows how to fix or build things with his hands is extremely attractive. I totally agree with that. So whenever I was looking for my husband, one of the qualifications that I had that I was looking for was, the ability to do things. And so I had dated a couple guys who were just, I would say that I knew I had more knowledge than they did in a lot of general fixing and building and things like that. And so they were like less manly than what I needed them to be. Um and and so then I was like, I'm done. Like if they can't fix my car and do all of the Ben things that I need them to do, like I can't entertain this in my life. And so whenever I met my husband, he came in, he was filthy dirty. I was working on becoming a store manager at Dollar General at the time, and he was filthy dirty, and he had just come from the junkyard. He was pulling parts out of a junk vehicle to go fix another vehicle. And that's how I met him. He was disgusting. He was covered in oil and grease and all the things. And I was like, that's what I'm going to marry. That's going to be my husband. And so so he laughs because he fixes things, quote unquote, used loosely. He's definitely no contractor. The stuff that he does, it's always rigged some type of ways. So where it's probably not necessarily up to code, but he gets her done. You know what I mean? So that's all I need. It gets done.
Creative rigging.
Yeah, exactly. Mama Bear, yeah. We went through the same things. But gotta have a man. Gotta have a manly man. So I'm gonna hit play again.
Strongest nation in the world without leading the world in science and technology. After years of importing 90% of our semiconductor chips from abroad, which America invented those chips. Our Chips and Science Act meant that private companies from around the world are now investing literally tens of billions of dollars to build new chip factories right here in America. And over that period, they'll create tens of thousands of jobs. And many of those jobs in the so-called fabs, the building that make the chips, that's being constructed now. And guess what? The average salary in those fabs, size of a football field, will be over $100,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree.
Well, there you go. Don't go to school, kids.
Yeah, don't go to school. You can come manufacture.
Don't get educated.
Don't learn. Don't learn nothing. I just so here again we're putting the focus on this technical type industry and things like that, and that's great and all, because I know that they're trying to train the world to just use AI for absolutely everything, which is great and all. However, are we just going, like, is this going to turn into the freaking Terminator or something, where we're going to be in a situation where AI literally controls us completely at some point? I mean, I feel like many jobs and different things like that, this technical world that they're pushing you to, these work from home and computer type jobs and analyst jobs and training AI jobs, do you realize that you're training your replacements? Do you
Yeah.
realize that all of this computer techie things, if you're training AI to do it, eventually will just do it, and then they're no longer going to need you. And then you also have no skills. You also have nothing to fall back on. And so that's going to put
And
you,
you're totally dependent on your government.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And let me get this straight. Like there's nothing wrong with falling back and working into the service industry and into the food industry and things like that. Obviously we need grocery store workers. We need people to work at restaurants. We need people to do all of those types of things. But we're going to be in a point or in a situation where there's no manufacturing jobs, there's no blue collar type jobs, and then they're going to replace the white collar type jobs with AI, and we're going to have just the service industry. We're literally just going to become slaves to the elites. So, is that what we want? Because that's where we're going to be at. Just saying. I don't think, Kim, that movies are predicting that. I fully, truly believe that they show us these movies as a precursor to tell us where we're going to be at, so that whenever it starts to happen, we accept it because it's normal to us because we've watched 100 movies that did the same things. And so we just go with it because our mind has already been shown those images and those situations over and over and over again, so that we more easily accept walking ourselves into this slavery type position. Yeah, we practically already are. I agree with that. And I feel like, and I'm not trying to um pull on your emotions and things like that, but I honestly feel like if we elect these far left candidates, if we really put Kamala and Wells in office, that it's just going to propel us that much faster into this situation. Now, I will say that regardless, again, this is just the head of the snake. And I feel like it's the people behind the scenes in both parties. There's a reason that the top Republicans also don't support Trump. He's standing in their way of what they're trying to do. And so I feel like it's the head of both parties behind the scenes, this elite group that is pushing us more towards this communist type of a nation.
You know what I think about art? This is how what I'm very simplistic when I see things because we live life day in and day out. All we want, keep our electricity on, have enough money to get food, take care of our kids. Just people are just surviving. Here's what I think about our government. I think that they're in their own little world up there, and they have their own thing going, like it's a whole nother country. And we're just left to fend for ourselves. We're at the mercy of what they decide. They don't listen to us anymore. They don't care. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree
I
with
don't
that.
think
And
they care.
they haven't cared for years. You know what I mean?
No.
This
No, they
isn't something
haven't.
new. This has been, this has been building for a long time, this separation. They used to work for us. They used to be responsible to us, and it hasn't been like that for a very long time.
A long, long time.
Thea, thank you so much for the super chat. I gotta hop off. Great stream. I super appreciate that, guys. If you haven't followed Thea, go over and check out her channel. Let me pull the link up for you. She does paranormal type stuff and just different topics as well. But go check her out. Oh goodness, BC, grab her link. I can't find my own stream, but I just think that we're in this situation where they don't work for us anymore. They haven't for years, and that's part of why they're scared of homeschooling, in my opinion. Whenever we homeschool, we do teach my son the Constitution. We do teach him his constitutional rights. We do go over that type of stuff, and that doesn't get done in public school anymore. And they don't want people to realize, you know, how things were meant to be through our Constitution. They just want us to be pulled one side or the other, based off of what they want you to believe in the news that day. And they separate us with hate. They separate us by polarizing one side or the other against each other, right? Left versus right, so that we hate each other, we fight with each other, and we keep this animosity so that we're never working together, so that we're constantly divided. And they organize that division so that they can profit off of it, so that
Yeah.
they keep control.
Well, I believe that, but I think they're doing it for themselves. You know what I mean? It's like they're not. We aren't really benefiting. I mean, I just don't see any. I feel so sorry for the younger, those of y'all that are in your say 30s and 40s, even late 20s, that have families and children. I feel so sorry for y'all. I don't know how you're making it. I honest to God do not know how you're making it.
It's a struggle. I would say,
Um,
honest to God, like most families right now that are in a situation like me, I want to homeschool. I feel that's important for my children. In order to do that, I have to stay home from work. How do you find that work-life balance? Me and my husband don't see each other. By the time we get through with sports and events and things like that, we get like an hour a day, hour and a half a day together, because we're both working so much. Because I work at night from home. You know what I mean? And even though I'm sitting here, I'm in my office. He can't come in here and talk to me. And so I know that there are families that are going through the same thing, but you have to. You cannot live on a single income anymore. You just can't. My heart goes out to single moms, honestly.
oh
Or
my
dads.
God, there's a word. I mean, seriously, they have it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Even way back when I was a single mom, it was a struggle back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how they're making it. I really
Yeah.
don't because with insurance, and some of them qualify, for Medicaid, some don't. Some are on that fine line. You know what I mean? Where they
Mm-hmm.
can't get it. They don't make enough money to get insurance, and the company doesn't want to pay for their insurance.
Right.
So they
I
and
no,
they
I
won't
was just
work them a full 40 hours either. So
mm-mm.
they don't
No.
have to pay their insurance.
And that's so my sister's going through this right now. Some of you guys know, and not to put her business out there, but she's in the process of getting a divorce and things like that. And she was a stay-at-home mom for the last couple years and things. And so she's currently receiving some assistance from the government while she's in this transitioning period. But she's in this situation where as soon as she gets a job, she's going to lose that assistance. And obviously, because
And
she
she'll be
needs to be
without.
working. But here's the thing. The jobs that are available for her to get and be able to still be a mom to her children, that she has 3 children, 6 and under. Her youngest is 1. And so in order to still be a mom, she needs to be present in their lives. This father figure is a complete total deadbeat. I mean, he does nothing. He's a horrible individual. He had been abusive to her, things like that. And so we're in this situation where in order to get a job with the skills and the resources that she has, um, as soon as she starts working, she loses the assistance that she's receiving, and she's going to be in this rock and this hard place where she's still not going to be able to financially meet the needs of her family. And it's very, very hard. So she's looking at, do I need to get 2 jobs? Like, what type of things can I do? And so right now she's looking at a job outside of the house, but also looking at a job from home to do at night while they're sleeping. And so my heart just goes out to all of these women and men that are trying to run a household on a single family income with this inflation right now.
I don't see it coming down. I don't.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what my
they can
husband
they
said
can
too.
they can say what they want. When I talk about they, I'm talking about our current administration. They can say what they want about how things will come down. It's not there. I don't see how it can come down at this point.
I have never
Yeah,
seen inflation truly come down and be there for a minute. I mean, it just goes up and up and up. It like never rolls back. It's not Walmart. There are no
Right.
rollbacks.
Yep. And I agree with this too. Dee Hartnell said the system is designed to keep you stuck in it. There should be an incentive for working. And so I agree.
You
And
should be able to stair step off it. I mean,
so
just shoving
there
you
are
off the
some
cliff
things
is
in
not
place.
good.
There are some things in place to assist in that transition, but it's still like the amount that she will be losing immediately. It doesn't even it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for her.
My state has nothing. They have
Yeah,
nothing. They don't
that's
do,
sad.
they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm. It's sad. So let me hit play because, like I said, we can probably talk about the economy all freaking day because I know that there are so many people absolutely struggling right now. So
Because of you and so many electeds out there, American manufacturing is back. Where the hell to say we wouldn't lead the world in manufacturing? 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Manufacturing chips, like actual manufacturing jobs, like my husband's manufacturing plant, they're talking about closing right now because of how expensive everything is. Just saying. Yeah, and the amount that people pay for childcare is insane. I agree with that, Ocean Tide. It's nuts. Spend your whole paycheck on that.
Our Republican friends and others made sure they'd go abroad to get the cheapest labor. We used to import products and export jobs. Now we export American products and create American jobs right here in America, where jobs belong. With every new job, with every new factory, pride and hope is being brought back to communities throughout the country that were left behind. You know you're from it, many of you. You know what it's like when that factory closed, where your mother, your father, your grandmother, grandfather worked. And now you're back, providing once again, proving the Wall Street didn't build America, middle class built America, and unions built the middle class.
But you're that sounded contradictory.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you know who started the manufacturing with the chips back in the US? That was Trump during COVID. Remember the fit he threw? Because all the chips stopped. Nobody could get repairs done on their cars. I still have a car that's down. I can't get a computer for. Yeah, he's taking credit for something somebody else did right here. Just saying.
Yeah, and I was going to say companies like Goodyear have Goodyear, John Deere, like there's several companies that have just announced that they're going to be moving to Mexico and other countries because they can't survive in America. My husband's manufacturing plant, they've actually brought in Mexicans. They've brought in immigrants to assist for the next 3 years. They started several years ago. And they're there, or not several years ago, several months ago, they brought them in to assist for the next 3 years because they just cannot get the younger generation to work. I mean, they have raised their rates. And my husband was furious about this a little bit because they have raised their rates, but they didn't raise any of the existing workers' rates. But they have raised their starting rates so high now, and they still cannot get people in there to work. And so they finally sent for the Mexicans. And it's like, that shouldn't have to happen in America. But again, we've sent many jobs out. They're getting ready to close their plant in Tennessee, my husband's work, because again, they can't keep up with the inflation and the economy and things like that. But with John Deere and with John Deere specifically, I believe it is, that's moving out of the country, they're going to lose their farm business for a lot of the farm tires that they make. And so, they're in this situation where, what do you do? What do you do? But yeah, Mama Bear, gaslighting. He's just gaslighting us, but we've all lived through it. I'd love to know where this was all happening. Yeah, he must be talking about another country. I mean, is he talking about all the jobs that we sent somewhere else? Because that could be a thing, you know. Are
Yeah.
you forgetting which country you're supposed to be talking about here? So I don't know. I understand that small business applications, I guess there was 10.5 million small business applications, but those are applications. That's not how many actually started. And then you look at that. So I technically can file for a small business application because of my YouTube channel. I know somebody filed for a small business application so that they could become a private investigator. And so, you know, what is the actual the application and the process and things like that? What types of jobs are those jobs actually, or are those applications actually creating jobs, or is it just people filling out applications? Like, I'm sorry, but I would not put it past them to have AI filling out hundreds of thousands of applications just so they could be like, look, 10.5 million we're filled
Right.
out. So how is he
Look,
supposed to hire people if they won't work? Right.
so Pete, being an electrician, right? So he was doing some work for a campground. Um he put in the, oh, what do you call the things where the RVs hook up to? Those those things. um the
Know what you're talking
boxes where
about.
you plug
Mhm.
everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So he did like a 12 plot thing. Well, for this campground. It was a friend of his that had it. Well,
Mhm.
he had to go apply for a license to run a business to do it because the guy couldn't let him do it without having the business license.
Mhm.
So Pete just applied, as our last name, electric. He just did it for that one time. So anybody can go in and fill out a business app and get
Yeah.
a business, like you said. Um,
Yep. And it doesn't cost that much. It's like $25 in most states to fill out these
yeah,
applications.
25, 35. I mean, it's not expensive at all. So
Right. Right. Let me hit play again.
carry on.
It's been my view since I came to the Senate. And that's why I'm proud that I've been the first president to walk a picket line and be labeled
Hmm.
most pro-union president in history, and I accept it. It's a fact. Because when
I don't think
Now,
unions are a bad thing. I'm just going to say that. I don't think that
I don't
unions are a
either.
bad thing. There are trades that they are very appropriate for, and then there's trades that are not so much. Like, I don't think that for example that Walmart needs a union. But I do think that unions do need to exist in things like you said your husband's in the electrical union,
Electrical
or in
union.
the rail or in the rail railroad industry, things like that. So
Lay,
unions
go
do
ahead.
well, we all do well. You got it, man. You got it. I agree. I'm proud. Look, remember we told we couldn't get anything done because we couldn't get anything done in the Congress? Well, with your support, we passed the most significant climate law in the history of mankind. Over $370 billion. Cutting carbon emissions in half by 2030. Launching a climate corps, similar to AmeriCorps and Peace Corps, creating tens of thousands of jobs for young people of the future who are going to make sure this continues. Creating hundreds of thousands of jobs in clean energy for American workers, including the IBEW installing 500,000 charging stations all across America. And in the process, reducing carbon emissions. And we're seeing it. We're seeing to it that the first beneficiaries of environmental initiatives are those fence line communities that have been smothered by the legacy of pollution. Louisiana and Delaware, Route 9. All the factories, all those chemical factories are right next to the poorest neighborhoods. They're the ones we're going to bring back.
We're creating jobs, manufacturing jobs, manufacturing jobs. We're going to get rid of all of the jobs in the factories.
Right.
Like
I'm
2
see, I'm a
sentences
little,
later. Like,
I'm a little
sorry.
confused.
Confused. Yeah, I like whiplash. Like, wait a second. Let me destroy
that's
Wait a
these
minute. A
jobs.
minute
kind
ago,
of what I'm saying.
yeah,
I think
like
that
a
the
minute
companies need
ago.
to operate cleaner. Absolutely. I do think that we shouldn't be putting necessarily all of the horrible things into the environment and things like that. But we also need these manufacturing jobs. Like you just said, literally 7 minutes ago, I think it was, about bringing jobs and manufacturing jobs back or not letting them leave. Like, nah.
So they're
And
leaving to
how?
go to another country.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, all of the countries of this world are destroying our planet. But if you look at our emissions rate compared to India, China, all those things, it's way, way,
That's a lot
way less.
less.
Yeah,
Way
we don't
less.
manufacture anything anymore. We let them pollute it.
Well, that's it. But then we also send them monies to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna put everything over there. It'll be fine. I agree, BC. Whoever wrote this for him
Oh,
needs fired. Mhm. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa Davis. She said, I love your coverage of this, and I love that you're tackling topics that most people are scared to talk about. Thank you. You know what? And I'm not going to hide from my beliefs and things like that. I think that one of the biggest problems is that we're so scared of backlash from people who are our friends, our family, the other side, that a lot of people do. They shy away from stuff like this. But we need to be able to have an open discussion about what's going on and about.
Yeah, and when we all wake up on a watch list tomorrow, we're going to know how free we aren't.
That's what it was
well, you
like
know,
whenever it went black earlier. That's what happened. They were tapping into things.
but it's like people can talk about it without being hateful. Um, it you can talk about both parties. I'm not against our government. I'm not against the Democrats. I'm not against the Republicans. I'm for our people. Yeah, I'm for our country. Somebody do something to help our people. But this is different. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
I agree. We got
but
to
I
find
meant
something
that,
that puts us
yeah.
back
But
together completely.
where are you going?
How can we be the greatest nation in the world without the best education system in the world? Donald Trump and the Republican friends, I not only can't think, they can't read very well. Seriously, think about it. Look at their
Oh, he
project
didn't say that.
2025. They want to do away with the Department of Education. Well, during the pandemic, Common Law helped states and cities get back their schools back open. And we gave public school teachers a raise. We created apprenticeships with businesses and communities, putting students on a path to a good paying job, whether or not they go to college. And by the way, we're making college a hell of a lot more affordable. Increasing Pell Grants by $900. Over $15 billion to HBCUs. Minority service education, including Hispanic institutions and tribal colleges. We kept our commitment to provide more student relief than ever by lifting the burden of helping millions of families so they could get married, start a family, buy a home, and begin to build family wealth and contribute to the community.
They
Oh,
unburdened. They unburdened
yeah.
what has been burdened. And so he says this about families starting homes and providing to the wealth and things like that. It's insane because homes cost so much more. Literally, a house that would have sold for like 100,000 is now 250,000 and way beyond. I mean, that's just my small area. We typically had lower costing houses. I was literally laughing last night. somebody posted a rental property. Let me see if I can find the pictures. They posted a rental property in our little small bodonk town outside of our main town, and they are asking for $850 a month plus all utilities for this home that looks like it was pulled straight out of the 1970s and never cared for. And I'm just like, that's insane to me. Like, it's not even clean. It's not upgraded. It's not updated. Like, that house would have been, $350 to $400 a month 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And now it's 8 something. I don't know how people are living this life anymore. I really just don't. And then we wonder why we have so many homeless, and we wonder why we have so many people who are struggling or turning to drugs or all the things. And it's just, what else are you supposed to do? I'm going to look for those pictures. I'll see if I can find it, but I can't see it right now.
That's
It's
true,
crazy.
Annie. The housing market is.
Mm.
There's just
Tired of
down
it.
here.
To be able to speak how
They
I
just
feel.
they're
No, I just
building. They want to build and build and build and build and build. They want to take up all the green space. I mean, first
Mhm.
off, I do like my green space, but there's just
Yeah.
so much building, and but it costs so much. I don't know how. Look, I don't know how
Well,
single moms down here afford anywhere to live
yeah.
because it's when you said 850, you can get a studio apartment for 850 down here. I
Right.
know that might be cheap, for some, but a
Yeah, no,
studio does not.
I know that some areas like are insanely priced. Um And so Mama Bear said, I'm tired of it. We should be able to speak how we feel. This is why my dad came from Egypt. So his children could have freedoms he didn't. And that starts with the freedom of speech. Yeah, I think the issue is it's not that we don't have the freedom to say what we want, but you don't have the freedom of the repercussions from what you say.
Right,
Right. And
right.
so unfortunately, if you talk about this, if you talk about any of the hot button topics, unfortunately, there is an entire group of people that focus in on your statements and pull one or two things out of the speech or out of the things that you said, and then they will instigate hatred towards you or try to villainize you for the different thoughts or opinions that you've had. And that happens whether you're looking at politics or religion or even just YouTube. I mean, look how many clip channels and how many channels there are that just review videos of people and just talk about how horrible or not horrible that person is. Literally thousands of people watching day after day, just people reviewing other people's free speech. And so then you look at, well, how much how much liberty should you have in free speech? Should you be able to say certain things or not say other things? And so it's a nonstop, constant debate about where are the lines and whose line do you go off of based off of what you say. And unfortunately, voicing your opinion, if it's something that the majority does not have that same opinion of you, you do get polarized into a situation where now nobody can talk to you, right? Now it's not cool to talk to Sleuth Mom because she spoke out against so and so. And the same thing happens in politics. The same thing happens whenever you talk about abortion. The same thing happens in all these different types of things because we are in this mindset where we can't coexist, that we have to be either for somebody or against somebody, and you can't coexist with any other person. And it's just not the case. I mean, like I said, I have families that are very right-winged Republicans, and I have families that are very left wing Democrats, and I still love both of them. I still have the ability to look at their point of view and form my own opinion based off of things, but none of their opinions makes me think, oh, that's a horrible, terrible person and they deserve to die or have their voice silenced or be shut down because I disagree with their statements, right? And so I guess maybe I'm on the outside with that, where I think that people have to, I don't know. We've got to find a way to come together. We have to find a common ground to bring us all back together. And everything does not have to be constantly divided and driven by hate. That's my thing. Sad. It's right now, this is the majority. Who knows what they'll think next week. It's coercive. Yeah, it is. It's control. It's very sad. It is. So.
And grow our economy. It's not costing us, it's creating more wealth. We fundamentally transformed how our economy grows. From the middle out and the bottom up instead of the top down. My dad used to say there wasn't a whole hell of a lot to drop down on my kitchen table at the end of the month. I come from a basic middle-class family. 3-bedroom house, 4 kids, a grandpa living with us, decent neighborhood, but never a penny to spare. And look, that top-down notion never worked. A lot of Democrats didn't think it worked, thought it worked, but it doesn't. And when we did all that, what we've done, everybody can do well. Everybody. Donald Trump calls America a failing nation. No, I'm serious. But think about this. Think about this. He publicly says to the whole world, I'm going to say something outrageous. I know more foreign leaders by their first names and know them well than anybody alive. Just because I'm so damn old. But I'm not joking. Think of the message he sends around the world when he talks about America being a failing nation. He says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong. Many of you are very successful people who travel the world. Name me a country in the world that doesn't think we're the leading nation in the world. Without America, not a joke, think about it. I'm being literal. Who can lead the world other than the United States of America? Well, guess what? America's winning, and the world's better off for it. America's more prosperous, and Americans are safer today than under Donald Trump. Trump continues to lie about crime in America, like everything else. Guess what? On his watch, the murder rate went up 30%, the biggest increase in history. Meanwhile, we made the largest investment, Kamala and I, in public safety ever. Now, the murder rate is falling faster than any time in history. Violent crime has dropped to the lowest level of more than 50 years. And crime will keep coming down when we put a prosecutor in the Oval Office instead of a convicted felon. And folks, the distinguished senator from the Senate from California and I.
Weren't they like behind that whole defund the police movement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like what? Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, that doesn't sound right. I'm pretty sure I have videos of Kamala talking about defunding the police.
Yeah, you do.
I don't think that crime has come down. He needs to talk to the true crime community.
It hasn't gone down, it's gone up.
Up. Because
Way
they're
up.
letting, well, I'm not going to go there. But just so many criminals are coming into our country. I'm just going to tell you that way.
Let
Criminals are
me
coming into
say I don't think that there's less crime. I think that there's less arrest for crime. I think that there is less people being held responsible for crimes, and I think that police are terrified and that they have no power to do their jobs because we have looked at police and military and things like that in such a negative light for so many years. And all you got to do is pull out your phone and start recording them and they could lose their jobs. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every officer or every person behind a badge is a good person. I know that there are bad people who exist. But in general, becoming a police officer is an extremely, extremely dangerous line of work right now because of the utter disrespect and just groups of people who do not do not listen to the police authorities. And so I don't think that there's less crimes. I think that there is less arrest for crimes. That's my thoughts. So that's kind of where I'm at. Let me see. I wanted to fact check that real quick. So
How are you talking about
this
people?
article is from 11 Alive News. They said, since we're only partway through 2024, we can only examine the first 32 weeks of each administration's final year for an even comparison. Data shows that from 2017 to 2020, the last year Trump was in office, there were 348 murders in Atlanta, along with 812 rapes, 3,946 robberies, and 7,132 aggravated assaults. In comparison, the data from 2021 to 2024 shows that more murders and aggravated assaults, in fact, aggravated assaults went up 39%, which is even more than what Trump said. However, rapes and robberies were both down, but were they down or were they getting reported less? That's my question. When we tally the categories, there were a little bit more than 1,200 violent crimes reported from 2017 to 2020, and there were 13,000 from 2021 to 2024. It's important to note that Atlanta's murder aggravated assault numbers peaked in 2022, but all 4 violent crime categories went down in 2023. So that's just Atlanta, Georgia, just an article to kind of see what they found versus, because Trump, I guess, said that he said, since I was president, aggravated assaults in Atlanta are up 17%. So we know that it's actually up 39% for the aggravated assaults. And I truly think that rape is one of those things that it goes unreported oftentimes because people are scared. They're scared of the backlash. They don't think that anything's actually going to be done. They're scared of their abuser, things like that. And so those numbers could go down for those types of reasons instead. Yeah, and then we have the states that have no bail laws. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about was Kamala. He says about her being hard on criminals, and I have an article that I'm going to read here in a second to you guys about Kamala and her stance on pedophiles. So
Oh yeah, Dee. The media is terrible. They're terrible. I cannot stand the regular channel, like ABC, CBS, NBC. Everyone is so biased, and they just keep on inciting. They're so biased, and they incite so much hate. And then you got the talk shows that incite hate, and the late night shows that incite hate. Um, I just can't watch it. I can't even watch these conventions. I'm just gonna be either one of them. I'm just gonna tell you. I get nervous
I
when
don't normally
Trump
watch
starts
either.
talking.
Yeah.
I get
I
nervous
honestly, I
when
don't
Trump.
normally watch either, but it's just so important to have these discussions and really actually talk about it as a community and get things out in the air and actually dig into the statements that they're saying, because guess what? They're going to clip stuff from this. They're going to take that little segment of what he's saying. They're going to put it out on the headlines on many, many news articles. And then our friends, our family, our loved ones, they're going to believe those little clips rather than actually looking into what he actually said. And so that's my thing. I want to deal on facts. I want to deal on, not just the emotional trigger words and things that they say. And so that's really like what my focus has been over the last couple weeks, is really starting to look into, what are we actually dealing with? And leading up to November, we're going to be dealing a lot with politics. And I know some of you guys might not agree with that, but it's something that's so important for our nation. So yeah, hard on criminals, dead. Let me see. Let me hit play on this while I pull this article up, because I can't remember where I saved it to.
But it worked. If we care about public safety, we need to prevent gun violence. And what makes me ashamed when I travel the world, which I do, more children in America are killed by a gunshot than any other cause in the United States. More die from a bullet than cancer, accidents, or anything else in the United States of America. My God. That's why Kamala and I are proud. We beat the NRA when we passed the first major bipartisan gun safety law in 30 years. I'm serious. That comes from here. And now it's time to ban assault weapons again. And demand universal background checks. It's hard. I never thought I'd stand before a crowd of Democrats and refer to a president as a liar so many times. No, I'm not trying to be funny. It's sad. Trump continues to lie about the border. Here's what he won't tell you. Trump killed the strongest bipartisan border deal in the history of the United States that we negotiated with the Senate Republicans. It took 4 weeks. Once it passed, and never acknowledged the most expansive border change in American history. He called senators to say, don't support the bipartisan bill, because he said it would help me politically and hurt him politically. My God. No, I'm serious. Think about it. Not a joke. Ask even the press who doesn't like me. They'll tell you that's true. Typically Trump, once again, putting himself first and America last. Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office. And unlike Trump,
You need to talk to JLR.
I was going to say that. So JLR Investigates has been out there, and he is watching the people cross the border. And what's happened is there has been 50% less people detained, but not 50% less coming across. They're estimating, like, I think it was 22 million. Let me pull this up.
This man has not said a truth yet. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it. So 11 million people just over the last couple of years, and 2 million were registered last year by Border Patrol. That's registered. So, but I think it's probably higher than that. That's just what we know about, right? So this is let me pull up Jessica's Law for you guys so you can see this. So Jessica's
Kim.
Law.
I was laughing at Kim.
Can we watch this while he has clown makeup on? Stop. So Jessica's Law is something that came out. It was, let's see. It was passed in 2006 to increase punishment for sex offenders to keep them away from children. So this is in California. It extended parole for offenses. It increased fees and court-imposed fees on sex offenders. It gave them GPS monitoring, lifelong GPS monitoring for high-risk sex offenders. It also gave them residency restrictions of they could not be within 2,000 feet of a school district or a park where children gathered. So the law was named after Jessica Lunsford, who as a child was abducted, raped, and murdered by a sex offender who lived nearby. It was modeled by other laws or similar laws in other states. So in March of 2015, the California Supreme Court ruled that the law's blanket residency restrictions were unconstitutional, but the parole officers could still impose less restrictive residency restrictions on a case-by-case basis. So the new policy was designed to reduce the risk of reoffending and increase community safety. So what does Kamala Harris have to do with that? Kamala Harris actually opposed Jessica's Law, and she was against making sure that these requirements were in place, saying that it was unconstitutional. And so her decisions resulted in why this law was undone in California. And so basically she has opened this up so that the pedophiles are able to be right there with the children, with the restrictions that she has lifted basically while she was an attorney general in California. And so you look at that and you think to yourself, so if she's this hardened prosecutor that they keep promoting, and what's she a hardened prosecutor against? Marijuana, but not crimes that matter. And so that's frustrating to me because it's like, really? Like that's where we're at with this. So, you know, but I think we're going to go ahead and close it down. I do have to get ready to go. I was not expecting us only to make it about halfway through his speech. If you ladies would mind, I would love to have you back on so we can continue this discussion, you know, either tomorrow or the day after, or even later tonight.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that would be awesome.
Okay.
And so that's what we will do then is we'll finish this video. We're at 30 minutes and 45 seconds. And just continue this discussion. And I would look forward to having everybody come back. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Consider subscribing to the channel and doing all the things. And thank you again to Thea and Trish for the super chats that you guys sent. Super, super appreciated. But love you guys.
Well,
and thank you all for coming. Bye.